Good morning. I hope everyone had a great weekend. Today we will be Today we will be starting a new unit. We will be learning about the different types of governments and system of governments, which is how the government is organized. I do have a couple handouts that I'd like to pass around, and I want you to start it this way and we'll go around, okay? These are yours to keep. So if you want to make some notes or highlight things, you can do that. During the slides, I will have a couple questions, and then if we don't get through all of them that are within the handouts, you can take them home and there's a couple videos, watch them, answer the questions, bring them back, turn them in, and you can get extra credit. Okay? Okie dokie. So different governments. Within the first one, which is an autocracy, there are two different types, monarchy and dictatorship. Within this government, there's only one person that has power. Then we have an oligarchy. In this government, there's a small group of people that are in charge. Then we have a democracy, where the power is given to the people of the nation. Then we have a theocracy, which is a government run by a religious doctrine. And lastly, we have an anarchy government. Within this government, there's nobody in charge. Also, you won't see any countries that have adopted this type of government, but we will discuss that further into the slides. So we have a monarchy, which is where a king or queen rules. They inherit their power and position through their family line. And there are two types of monarchies, an absolute and a constitutional monarchy. An absolute monarchy, it was used up until 1215, when the Magna Carta was put in place. This charter was drawn up by barons and church leaders to limit the king's power. These people forced King John to sign the document, therefore introducing the constitutional monarchy. This requires the monarch to share control with other governing bodies. The King of England, Charles III, shares power with British Parliament, which is headed by a Prime Minister. Then we have a dictatorship. So this is where only one person is in charge, and we can see this in Adolf Hitler's Germany. We can see this with Stalin and the Kim family in North Korea. We then have an oligarchy. When looking at this word, I want us to all take a minute and look at this word. What do we see? What do you guys see? Do you see any roots that kind of jump out at you? Yes, Jacob. That is right. So at the beginning, olig, that comes from the Greek, and it means few. So an oligarchy is power of the few. The only way to be part of this government is to be of a certain class, social class, descendants of a few families, or the head of a few influential businesses. A couple of countries that use this type of government is Saudi Arabia, where only members of a small ruling family are allowed to make decisions for the entire country. And then we can also see it before Russian Vladimir Putin's rule. There was a group of Russian oligarchs who had control over most of the country's economy. But now that has all changed, and Putin gave those oligarchs the choice to either go to prison or be part of his new ruling. Ukraine also had this type of government, but with the war, it is changing. And then we have a democracy. This is where the power is given to the people of the nation. There are two types. An example of a direct democracy is ancient Greece. Back then, every citizen was given the equal right to vote in government, and together they would make all of the important decisions. This type of government works well if there's only a few people trying to make a decision, but in a country with millions and millions of people that require every single vote or every single person to vote on every single decision, it can be very tricky. Due to this, they transformed this type of government into a representative democracy. A representative democracy is where citizens elect lawmakers to represent their interests in the government. The United States is a constitutional republic where citizens vote on representatives to make laws and decisions for a country according to the rules in the US Constitution. A theocracy is run by a religious doctrine. The highest authority in this type of government is a divine being, such as a Christian God. The Vatican in Rome is headed by the Catholic Pope, which is an example of theocracy. Popes are chosen by the College of Cardinals, which is made up of the Church's most senior officials who are appointed by the Pope, and they are usually ordained bishops. And then we have people who call themselves modern anarchists, and they believe that people shouldn't be obligated to be under a single government's rule. There's never been an attempted anarchy in history that proved long-lasting and successfulness. Given the history of people, it is proven that we always end up organizing ourselves into some sort of government. So there's no way that this type of government would be effective or work. Governments provide protection, order, and laws that keep people safe, happy, and healthy. Systems of government. Real quick, before we move on, can anybody tell me what percentage of power do people in democracy have? Yes, Aaron. Good job. They have 100%. Yes. Okay, what type of democracy does the United States have? Anybody? They have an indirect democracy. Make sure to write that down because that will be on a test, okay? Now back to the slides. A unitary system. This is where a national government might delegate some responsibilities to lower levels of government, but most of the power resides in that big central power. China and Japan are examples of this system. Some small responsibilities might be delegated to city-states, but the national government holds the most authority and makes all of the major decisions. Then we have the confederal system. This is where states rule themselves. There's still a central national government, but it's small and relatively weak. The European Union is an agreement between several countries in Europe to ally with one another and follow an agreed upon set of trade rules and laws. Each European country, like Spain, France, Italy, Germany, they govern themselves, but they are all connected by this alliance, and they have that confederal system. In the United States, we have the federal system, where states largely run themselves, while sharing responsibilities with the national government in Washington, D.C. The national government is strong like a unitary system, but its power is shared with equally strong state governments. States have a considerable amount of authority to rule themselves, but they share power with the central government. And then these are the three branches, which you guys will need to know. It will be on the test and I'm sure you all know. So, parliamentary system. A monarchy uses this type of system, which is how they rule. And within this, the legislative branch oversees running the country. Great Britain is run by this kind of system, and within it, the body of lawmakers elect a prime minister who leads the legislative branch, but they don't get to select their leader. They vote for a representative in parliament who then elect the prime minister. And then we have a presidential system, which we should all know about, correct? This is where the president is the leader of the country and the people elect who the president is. In the United States, Congress makes the laws in our legislative branch. Our president runs the executive branch, and the Supreme Court is the most important of the judges that make up our judicial branch. And that is all. We don't have enough time to go over the questions, so go ahead, take them home, fill them out, and bring them back. Okay? Have a good day.